Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelorette Recap, a guy's review. I've got a treat for you today. I sat down over Zoom and had an incredible conversation with a fellow Bachelor recapper. You know her from her parody Bachelor recap videos. Enjoy my conversation with the one, the only, Kelly Johns. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Special guest today, Kelly Johns from Georgia. Hello, Kelly. How are you?
Hello. I'm great. How are you?
You know, I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking. I love the Bachelor community because it's like we were put into the same classroom in school. And so we're forced to know each other because, you know, like I'm recommended your content, maybe you're recommended mine. It's nice to finally meet you over Zoom here.
You as well. I found out about you on Justin's podcast, Justin Takes the Batch.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Love Justin. Now, have you been, shout out to Justin. I can't wait to go to New York and go to drag brunch with him because he told me he's going to invite me into the community. I was like, thank you so much for that.
Well, that fits into this week's episode with the drag queens.
It sure does. Now, did you know Justin being from Georgia? Do you have to know each other as Bachelor recappers from Georgia?
So yeah, funny story. So we went to Broadway camp together I think I was like 17. I was still in high school. So over 10 years ago. And then we were like Facebook friends because, you know, you used to add literally everyone as your Facebook friend back then. So we've just been like Facebook friends for over 10 years. And then he saw that I was posting Bachelor videos last year. And then he messaged me and he's like, oh my God, I love The Bachelor too. And he had just started his podcast. So we reconnected and now we're great friends again, 10 years later.
I want to know more about Broadway camp. What that sounds amazing. Do you pick a theme? Do you pick a theme like American Idol? Like we're doing, you know, Jean-Paul Jean, like how does that work?
So it was, they still have it. It's Broadway Dreams Foundation. And they literally bring in real Broadway stars to be like the camp mentor people. And it was like an intensive, a full week. And so we'd have like rehearsals and workshops with these real Broadway stars. And then at the end of the week, we put on a show. And it was the first year I did it, it was at, I forget the name, but it was at a big theater in Atlanta. Like it was really legit.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, very interesting here. Now, we do have that in common, the acting world. And I wanted to ask you, because we will talk about what's going on in the Bachelor world, but also I wanted to just get to know you. As far as acting goes, this whole thing where like Greg Grippo's an actor, so he's clearly like, do people think actors are just like psychopaths who can't be honest or truthful? How do you, when you see that people are like, oh, he's an actor as some sort of insult, how does that make you feel?
It really annoys me because people don't understand that being on The Bachelor is not going to help you get auditions for film TV. It will help him probably if he, you know, wants to be like an entertainment host, similar to like Tayshia and Caitlin are now hosting the show, mentoring. So it helps in that respect, but like, it's not going to help. You and I know how hard it is just to get these auditions. And as far as I know, casting directors aren't like, Bachelor reality star, yes, we need to have him. It's just not really how it works. So in my opinion, going on the show is not going to help his acting career. It'll help his presence in the social media world and he'll get some cool opportunities. But I think it's annoying when people are like, oh, he's just in it for fame because he's an actor, or as if he's putting on a show and that his whole thing is acting with Katie. It's just annoying. Like you said, it's like as if we're not normal people just because we're actors.
Yeah, you're a small business owner. You're forced to, I mean, everything's stacked against the actor, just in the sense that everyone else on the set's getting paid and you're kind of there expected to just enjoy the opportunity. But that's why there's unions and things like that, because not that they fight much for people, but, you know, just because it's the easiest, whenever there's a job that people want, it's easy to take advantage of it. Now, the only times I can think of an actor or someone getting a credit from Bachelor is Tyler Cameron, but he could have walked into he's gorgeous. He doesn't count. When you can turn traffic walking down the street, you'll be cast as the hot guy. He's gorgeous.
What was he cast in?
He was in Eliza Schlesinger's new movie on Netflix.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep. Just plays the hot guy, you know, quick role. But then again, like I said, he's transcended Bachelor. He's maybe not A-lister, but he's an A-list model at least.
I mean, he was dating Gigi Hadid.
Yeah, it's like, come on. That's why when people were like, oh, maybe he'll go back on Bachelor in Paradise, I'm like, do you not understand? Yeah, this guy's next level stratosphere. And then the other one was Nick Viall played a role in a Lifetime movie, but that was clearly gimmicky to sell so it ain't going to happen. It is way more detrimental, but it doesn't mean he's not potentially an F boy. Like what are your thoughts on seeing Greg this season? There's clearly his fan base and those going, oh, he's going to be in trouble.
I think he's fine. Like, I just think he's the average guy on The Bachelorette. I think he seems nice. I'm not obsessed with him. I just think he, again, is like average. He's attractive. He's nice. Nothing more to it, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a clam chowder on the diner menu. It's like, yes. There's nothing that stands out. You'll take it. We'll see how it all goes. I mean, a lot of with what I do with my channel is just to break down, like, not everyone's inherently evil. Not everyone's great. Plenty of people have emailed in saying, oh, my friend dated him, he was horrible. It's like, yeah, maybe he's needy. Maybe he's self-centered. Maybe it's like, join the lot. We're all that way till we're not.
Like, my ex-boyfriends from 10 years ago probably have not the greatest things to say about me. Like,
well, they actually called in, so we're going to
those comments are coming next.
Congratulations on the recent wedding, the marriage.
Thank you.
I'm like a few steps behind. I'm engaged. We're looking at places. Thank you. We're going to Belize tomorrow, which this will air. We'll already be there. That's why I was excited to talk to you before I leave, so I can have this up there when I'm in the rainforest. But I know you were in Costa Rica, which is West Coast Belize. It's the same relative,
right?
Like the exact opposite area. But anyway, what I want to know, I want to get into that, but I want to know what brought you to doing parody Bachelor recaps, and what's your just full relationship with the Bachelor world there?
So I've been watching literally since season 1. So I was 8 or 9 years old. My mom thought it was a great idea for us to watch it together every week. But back then, like, it wasn't not that it's scandalous now, but it was much less dramatic. Like, it really was just people dating, and, they'd make out and maybe talk about sex. But, like, my mom was cool about me, knowing that those things were normal. And, so I've just been watching it my whole life. I've been an actor my whole life. And I guess over 2 years now, it's been, as you know, as an actor, sometimes it can be disheartening. Like, we have these auditions, and when you don't book it over and over, it's like, we know that it's a sprint, but at the same time, it's like you want to book stuff. So in order to kind of feel more fulfilled and as if I was working and didn't have to wait to book these other projects, I just was like, I'm going to make my own content. And I was thinking, what can I do? And Colton season was about to premiere. So I was like, it's perfect. It's my favorite show. I've watched my whole life. I'm going to combine my love for that, my love of acting and comedy. And I just made a video of his premiere night and, like, did all the girls coming out of the limo and just had fun with it. And was like, I'm just going to see what people think. And that first video did really well, and people kept asking me to make more. So I did it every week for Colton season, and then people asked me to do the next season. So I've been doing it ever since.
So you've just like followed the demand. That's the appreciation.
People.
Well,
yes.
I mean, yeah, like as an actor or just a performer, you're looking for any feedback whatsoever. Like, is someone going to listen to this? And then you do something that gets some traction and you go, oh, no one's commenting on my other things because of the oversaturated market that I'm in or whatever. But if you get a little slice, you build that little fan base that goes, oh yeah, really talented. Now, my theory with you is that you just enjoy dressing up with male facial hair. I think that's it.
That is also a passion of mine.
Like, at what point now you would use maybe eyeliner? At what point are you in the mirror putting on a thing, looking at, like, being like, does this look the right way? Like, at what point are you like, what am I doing with my life?
So I used to, when I first started doing the videos, I spent way too much time, like, actually pulling up photos of the guys and, like, trying to get the shapes of each beard correct. Now I'm like, one beard for, like, a few guys. Blake's I have to change up because his is, like, so thick and, like, Thanos, shaped. So I just kind of, it takes me like 30 seconds now. I'm just like, do some dashes, blend it in real quick.
You're like, they're here for me.
For the next character.
Yeah, I'd love like a dramatic TikTok of you like slowly wiping off your man and like taking off this sports jacket, and then your husband's like,
goes into the woman.
You're just like, ready for dinner, honey? Like, what are we doing?
Oh, it's so funny. When we first started living together, and I would do the videos, and I'd just like come out in the living room, and I would forget to take it off, and I'd go in for a kiss. My husband is like, Oh God, like not attracted to that. Did not want to kiss me when I looked like a man, but now he's gotten used to it. So he'll kiss me as the man now.
Wow, what a gentleman he is.
I
Now,
know.
does he watch the show with you, or is it just kind of like he's kind of it's forced into that quality time?
It's the one thing that we don't like, we just don't bring it into each other's lives.
Oh,
I've
nice.
tried for, we've been together over 6 years. His best friend loves it and he'll watch it with his girlfriend and like we'll text about it, but Brian has no interest still. So I'm like, you know what? It's my thing. I respect it. I have my, my passion over here with Bachelor Nation. He stays out of it. It's cool.
Now, everyone loves Bachelor for different reasons, but I think what roots everyone into the series is when you do find like the love story and the connection. Everyone loves to see that. Now,
Mhm.
when I saw your Q&A on Instagram last week, that blew my mind. You have a great love story. I mean,
Thank you.
so walk us through this. You're working as you meet your husband on the job.
Yeah.
How does this spark happen?
So I was about to graduate college. I went to University of Georgia and I have a degree in teaching in Spanish. So I teach Spanish part-time. And I was placed at a random high school for my student teaching. I was finishing out the year and I had fully planned. I was single. I was like, I'm about to graduate college. I'll move to Atlanta, start dating there. I was like feeling myself as a single woman. And then my colleagues all of a sudden were like, oh, there's this new hot substitute. You have to meet him. Everyone's talking about him. I'm like, whatever. Well, then I see him one day standing in the hallway. He was like waiting for the students to come back from lunch. And I just went up to him and I was like, hi, I'm Kelly. And then I got really nervous and I didn't say anything else and I just walked away. Great move. And but then 2 days later, the teacher that I was working under, she was out for the day. So legally there had to be a sub with me since I was still just a student teacher. So the sub lady knew that like Brian and I had met and Brian had asked her like, who's this Kelly girl? So she put him in my room on purpose and we just hit it off. We like talked that whole day. I didn't really teach. I was like, here's a worksheet, whatever. And the girls were all like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, are y'all dating? And they literally said, y'all are gonna get married. And they're like taking Snapchats and like zooming in on us. And then he asked me out for coffee a few days later. And it was so easy and unlike anything I'd ever felt. Cause I liked to like date around in college and just kind of, see what I liked and didn't like about people. And when I met him, I was like, this is insane. I was scared because again, I planned to not date. I was just like gonna graduate and do my own thing. So I was like, this is insane. I can't believe this is happening. But we both kind of knew right away that we were right for each other.
Now
So
it must help not looking for something because I've been getting
yes,
people all the time, and I don't give good dating advice, but I don't have any say in the matter. Like best friends always give the worst advice, or because there's always some sort of like, no, we enjoy the company, stick with it. You're like, all right. So like I don't have any say in the matter, but I get all these random people asking me for like dating advice, and I just think at the bare minimum, you have to love yourself and be okay with yourself, and then if an opportunity presents, you're not needy and all that. It sounds like
right.
that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. And our first date, so we went out for coffee, the first date, I guess, but the first like real romantic date that I posted about and people were like, oh my God. So he picked me up from my apartment in Athens with a dozen roses and took me to a nice Italian restaurant downtown, which was right on campus of my school. And then I had mentioned to him that I loved North Campus because there's a lot of little gardens. So he took me there after the dinner and told me to close my eyes, and he had set out this blanket with like a little speaker playing music, and he played In Sync because I told him that I loved In Sync. So he was like taking note of all those little things, and we sat under the stars and we danced, slow danced. It sounds so corny, but we like danced to the music and had our first kiss there. And then that's the same spot he took me to propose about 5 years
Wow.
after that.
Wow. Now
Yeah.
that's a true, there's plenty of ladies listening or watching this right now that are going, oh my gosh, that's a great story. That's, there's, I know we're, relationships involve their ups and their downs and this and that. But in the end, when you look back at like how things all start and how you grow together, it's always good to see people kind of speak their, sharing their little highlight reel there of how it all went down. But that's a, with all the stories I hear, that's a pretty good one that you met and had this little nudging from your teaching, people over there. That's cool.
Yeah. So, some of my students follow me still. And so they've seen that it's come to fruition and that we're married now. So that's fun.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think now Michelle Young will be the next Bachelorette coming this fall? They're filming it starting next week, so she doesn't miss her school schedule. Do you think she'll remain a teacher after she's the Bachelorette?
That's a good question. I will be shocked. But I think if she does, that's not that leaving the career makes you any less of a person, but I think if she stays with it, then that's truly her passion. But I don't know. I think that she can make a lot more money doing something else, obviously.
Yeah. We're looking at what, $50,000 to teach versus maybe on a good day you got to buy your crayons and all that. So cut that out versus, upwards of $1 million for a couple of years, which is going to go down. In most cases, you have a couple of years to make that massive amount of income. It's everyone, it's nothing against teachers. I just think the first day, Jimmy pukes in class, you're all right, I'm going to go sell some tea online.
Yeah. I mean, I love teaching, but it's not my lifetime goal. It's just, it works with my life right now because it's actually only 3 days a week. And it's half days too. So it's a part-time job and I love Spanish. So it works out, but the goal is to be an entertainer full time. And that's what I'm working up to. So I don't know if that's her goal. It's probably not, but like you said, making $1 million or so, I don't know how anyone could pass that up. And
it could lead to
who knows, she could have a career like some of the others with hosting or being just a personality.
Yeah. And, you could still spread good and, your message can be bigger than a classroom. But I mean, and I was telling this with my fiance, Tasha, that we all remember those teachers we had that were magical. It's just the system is just not set up to value that on a large scale,
Absolutely.
Now you mentioned being full-time, Michelle Young being full-time, when you have a full-time job, that's kind of the thing you do. And my whole sort of, one of the mantras and things I talk about is to not rent out your time, to build equity in yourself. As a performer, you have to be flexible enough to drop what you're doing for an audition or a gig, but also still break even and stay afloat because no one's going to perform well if you are so desperate that you need an audition because you got to pay the bills. It's a very difficult. So I look back at all of my side jobs and people go, oh, you're a comedian. What's your plan B? Do you think you're going to make it? And the limitations other people put on me, I'm so lucky I never had parents that did the same thing because I'd be like, oh, plan B, limitations. I don't know. Yeah. There's something brave that happens when you're out there in your element saying, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to create this space to make this work. How does that relate to your life when it comes to having the flexibility and juggling that with having some control over your own lifestyle?
Yeah. I'm really lucky that this teaching side job is flexible and they're very supportive. The school I work at is actually set up for students with outside passions. So our whole mission is to support people with acting careers, athletic careers, whatever it may be. So a lot of our staff there has the side hustle going on too. Two of my good friends at school have their own art company. So it's really supportive, the environment as a whole. So I'm lucky to find that, but it's a great way to, like you were mentioning, being an actor is financially unpredictable. So it's nice to be able to depend on this income. I know I have it coming in every month. It's not a ton, but I can make it work. And then I have the flexibility to take off if I need to for auditions, for bookings. 1 week I had to take off the whole week for a commercial I booked, and they were like, cool, no questions asked. Made it happen. So it's a really good fit. It's a really unique and special place that I'm happy I've found. I also do some babysitting on the side, but they're awesome too and flexible. So everyone I work with knows that acting is the main thing and my main passion, and everyone is supportive of that. So it works out.
Nice. Good to know. Yeah. Now, what kind of time? Now we talked about the makeup that you put on, obviously for your parody videos, but how long does it take to make each one? Because you got a short version on Instagram, a little bit of longer one on YouTube, so people can watch those. What are you doing? Are you, as soon as the episode's over, are you going into it? Are you writing some sort of script down?
So as I watch the episode, I take notes. I have a Google Doc and I'll just like write what people say. I used to do way more in depth, and then I realized like that's too much. I don't need to literally write every single thing they say. So I'll write down like the highlights, the funny moments. And then the next day, if I try to do it on Tuesday. So the next day, sometimes I'm busy and it takes an extra day, but then I'll film. And then the next day I'll edit. I try to get them up on Wednesdays. This week I had a really busy week. So, but yeah, I like to put the whole thing on YouTube. And now with Instagram Reels being so popular, I do like a little clips there and then hope people go watch the whole thing on YouTube.
Man,
But it takes overall, it used to take me so much longer. And now I've kind of found my groove and can speed up the process. But overall, 8 hours probably.
wow.
Yeah, still a lot.
I'm the same way where I've gotten rid of so much of the post-production or things people don't want to. I mean, 90% of the time people are watching my content while they're like doing the dishes or something.
Right.
So I've realized like I'm stressing over what GIF I'm going to use, GIF, whatever. I'm stressing over all these things and I go, you know what? They're here for me. You know, at some point you got to be like, all right, the people that are here for me are going to like what I put out. And part of, you know, the perfection is the enemy of good. And part of like getting things out is realizing your own sort of like need to be perfect in certain ways just has to be like, let go, you know, and that can kind of be the same way with auditions where it's like, all right, I'm only going to, this isn't going to be final product. I'm just going to do the best I can. And I'm going to hope that you see something in it or whatever. Have you been doing mainly online auditions this year?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think I've had any in person.
Yeah.
All self-tapes, send them in. Yeah.
I just got a voicemail right before this for two different things. And one was like, hi, this is the casting people in Santa Monica. You were scheduled for 10 a.m. And I'm like, what? Like I had an audition in person? Like, no, I'm not. I live east of downtown. I'm not going to Santa Monica to read a couple words.
Was it legit?
Yeah, I believe it to be. I'm sure I'm sure I'm gonna get a message from my agent. But at the same time, I'm also like, I've told them like, you got to stop with this, like, you know, the foolish stuff. There's so many foolish things out there. I'm like, just know me and know if I would want to audition for this or not. It either pays a lot of money or it's got a cool company or whatever. There's just so much baloney out there. Now I don't have to deal with the targeting of, you know, like, let me put it this way. As a female, I can imagine you have to be extra cautious when auditions come along, whether they're reputable, worth your time, you know, all that. What's your sort of process for vetting projects you might be interested in?
I feel like my agent and I have an LA manager as well do a good job at sending me things that are legit. Sometimes like my agent will email me and be like, hey, are you comfortable with this? And it might be something that requires some nudity. And I'll be like, no, thank you though. So like I can kind of choose what I feel comfortable with. But thankfully, yeah, I don't get much things that I feel like aren't worth my time or anything.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, we have so many conversations where we're like, all right, well, they said nudity, but what did they mean? You know, like we're like and I'm like, oh, you should go for it. You know, sometimes, you know, like it's so funny how you have these conversations because you're like, all right, is it good for the career or is it just a cash grab? What are we working with here?
Right. Like one of them required nudity and it was like low budget. And so I was like, I would work like maybe think about doing partial, maybe boob, still probably not, but if it paid really well. But I think it was like under 1,000. I was like,
yeah,
not gonna whip out the boobs for that.
I know a couple of the ladies that were in the Wedding Crashers montage where I don't know if you remember, they're just a bunch of women jumping onto the bed topless. And by all means, if that's what people want to do, by all means, take the money, whatever. And that can be for certain people. Like, I mean, Pam Anderson she was discovered on the Jumbotron at a hockey game or something. So there's like people, who knows what the internet's going to pick up on. That was pre-internet. But yeah, it's like, you have to be like, all right, is the juice worth the squeeze here? But if it's something credible and a good director and there's a budget, then it's different than Joe Schmo's student film, which every student film wants to be this edgy film noir. And it's like, all right, you know, Steve, you know, you're in your second year in film school, just calm down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Do you do any, have you considered, because obviously the parody recaps are comedic. Have you done any dabbling in improv or stand-up?
I took an improv class about 6 months ago. Super fun. Some people have told me I should take a stand-up class, and I think I was talking to you about it, how that scares me more than anything. I don't know why. I think being a character, there's like comfort with it being not me. I don't know. And I mean, I'm confident in myself, like, but trying to be funny as me scares me.
Well, this is,
But that's a good thing. I feel like I should try to get out of that comfort zone.
yeah, like I said, I'm sure I said something along the lines of, well, if you're scared to do it, it's because you're supposed to. And I'm not saying it's fun or easy, but obviously something happens. I did acting for maybe 5 years before I did improv. And then I was like, oh, I can do improv. You know, you can bomb with your friends. And then I saw some bad comedy. I was like, I can do stand-up. That's bad stand-up. And then I got into it. And then you turn one joke into 2 and 3. And next thing you know, you're like, all right, I can do it. Like, it's not, no one's asking any newcome stand-ups to do paid spots or headline a club or whatever.
Right.
But I've still bombed in front of some horrifying audiences. So there's definitely a self-hatred that comes along with it, but you get a chance to perform when the rest of the industry dictates when you perform, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I love about it, is that you get a chance to be like, I'm going to go up on stage tonight, even if it's paying $5 at an open mic. I'm going to go up there and yell at the blank wall or whatever. And I drive by Paramount Studios. I go to this one place. You can literally see the shadow of like the water tower of Paramount Studios. And there I am in the dingy, 20-seater. And I go, I couldn't be happier. I literally couldn't be happier, because I have control over this all. And I guess that's what you and I do with our YouTubes and social media, is that a little control over how we're going to present our opinions of the show. So
exactly.
I totally respect your hustle, because, a lot of people will have a funny idea or whatever, but to stick to it and commit to it, especially by doing characters, because while you say like, oh, I just do characters, it's like, that's probably one of the hardest things for people to even comprehend doing, is performing something outside of their skin,
Yeah.
So I think that's a great start by all means.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's cool how social media gives us that opportunity too. Cause like it's interesting how, so I've been in 2 really big films, The Blind Side and Game Night, but no one's going to know me from that. Like, because I had one line, I'm so proud of it, but now people kind of know me for being this goofy Bachelor person. So it's cool that the show and social media gives me and gives you this opportunity to put ourselves out there and kind of connect with people, versus, and I still, again, being in films and movies and TV shows and commercials is the main goal. But it's just cool that like we can have fun with this and kind of make a name for ourselves by, like you said, it's under our control.
Yeah, it's such a weird community, because like this year more than ever, I've gotten a bunch of cast members, their moms, there's so many people.
I love the moms.
Unbelievable. And they're such good people. I'm seeing like Connor's mom was like, wanted to correct something. So I'm like, Connor's mom, how adorable. And then I see that she's like watching his live streams. I'm like, this is so adorable.
I love it.
And then Blake's mom was on
Blake's mom.
She's on I just had an interview with her, and she's my new mom. I've adopted her. She's my mom. But yeah, so what kind of relationships? I know I asked you on your social media about any contestants sliding into your DMs. Now that you're married, that might not happen as much, but there's still got to be guys shooting their shot. Men are slime balls.
I have not gotten, no one has been creepy. I maybe I give off a vibe that's like, stay away, because people will respond and be really friendly and nice. Hunter is super nice. You've probably chatted with him on Instagram. I consider him like an internet friend. Michael A just responded to my story with the video, and he's super nice. But no one, it's like 2 years ago, someone was like flirting a little bit. But I was like, oh, I have a boyfriend. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, and then he was cool about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one has been like super weird or anything. I've had a great experience with so many people being so nice and just like really friendly and receptive to me making fun of them. Like they know that it's just a joke. And yeah.
I mean, the flattery that people feel, there's a psychological thing that happens, because I got a DM from Pilot Pete, And I never talked to him. And he goes, dude, you tore me to pieces in your video and I loved it. So that means it was pretty good. And I was like, whoo, thanks. Cause I've gotten a few from people that I'm like, oh boy. But obviously, you know, like if I'm talking about him not being able to land an airplane because he couldn't land love or whatever, it's like, come on, we're kidding. We're playing around here. Right. So it's so respectful for people to like appreciate being, because imitation is the highest form of flattery. So if you're doing a character dressing up as James with a turtleneck and your hair pulled to the side.
He responded.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. He loved it.
But I mean, how amazing is that? And also like SNL is like the place you want to be impersonated because that's like my lifelong dream is to be on SNL. And almost every good impersonation of like a male has become a female doing it. There's something very funny about seeing the female. And again, everyone on SNL, they're all just knockout, amazing improvisers and character, impressionists and all that. So it makes sense. But when you see like, Rudy Giuliani being done by Kate McKinnon and all these, you go, man, they just nail it. And it's like people are willing to suspend disbelief to see like you with your James and your hat, your hair gel back. It's just it's just an added funny to it because maybe it's an underserved market to have women impersonating men, but I swear it's like extra funny. I did SNL background years ago, and Kate McKinnon. It was a digital video for Nuva Bling. It was going to be like the Nuva ring, but bedazzled. Yep. And she bites my lip and pulls it in the scene, and they cut the scene. And I was like, oh no! I know. I was like, I had a good. Kate and I we're official now, they pulled it, but
people don't understand that scenes can get cut and they don't understand the anxiety of us as actors. Like first thing I ever did at 16 years old was The Blind Side. I had 2 scenes and then I got to go to the Atlanta premiere for it. And I'm like, oh, here comes my scene. It was the cafeteria. And then they only had the first part of the cafeteria scene and they cut the second part, which is what I was in. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not in the film. And then thankfully the second scene was still there, but the anxiety. And then with game night, I only had the one line and it's just 2 words. So I was like, they could cut this so easily, but thank God.
Oh, you must have like held your breath the whole time until you finally saw your scene.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If they cut you out, when you're like a name actor, your agent will get a phone call being like, hey, your scene didn't make it or whatever. Right. But when you're just coming in, like chances are you're just like waiting and then like, they don't have to put you in the credits. You don't get residuals. You just your base pay and that's it. And so good to see that you got at least one of the 2 scenes in, but and that's what these contestants on Bachelor realize is like the whole thing with Blake and his buddy, knowing each other beforehand. None of that made it to the show. They were buddies. That would have been a very interesting thing to hear about. So many of like the runway, this past episode, they did a runway at the drag queen event. Like,
they did?
They did a full runway. They all have their shots. They did a whole, I'm like, we didn't get to see this. And that would have been
so much better than the stupid non-roasting they did.
Yeah, and the crazy thing that happens is usually these scenes are fully edited before they're then trimmed down. So they'll edit the whole thing, see how it looks, and then cut. So like these scenes just exist, and the show doesn't put them on their YouTube page, and it's mind blowing that the 20-minute conversations that are turned into 2 minutes, like air that out. I know maybe they just think it won't be as interesting, but there's a lot of things that I think would be interesting that they just don't get around to showing. And
they can monetize off that too.
Absolutely.
There's definitely an audience for it. And like you were saying with people getting their airtime cut, like Brendan, how have we not seen him at all? He got the final rose. We literally haven't seen, I don't think, any conversations between him and Katie. And it's just so interesting what they're thinking in the editing room. Like he's making it kind of far. Why aren't they showing us? And also I wonder what he's thinking, because he probably had no idea that like he was going to be basically edited out of every episode. So like the contestants don't know going in either what edit they're going to get, if any.
I have such codependency when it comes to watching TV shows, and I know that there's an actor getting cut out of a scene. Like whenever you watch a movie or whatever, and there's like a waiter that comes up and it's an over the shoulder and they have some line read, you're like, that waiter didn't get the credit or cut out. And it's like time and again, my fiance was she spent all this time learning to do like this Swedish accent for this. It's a new biopic. It's going to be huge. And it was a small few lines, and she had to be a flight attendant, and she had multiple callbacks, multiple days of avail, still nothing. And I was like, it'd be great if she got it, but at the same time, you could shoot this and then they just cut you because it didn't fit the frame. And it's you never know. And on the show, Hunter finds out he's the villain. One episode, he's like, oh, I'm the bad guy. Like, he didn't even know he was going to be the asshole. It's important. People like you and I, we've seen how production works with multiple cameras and understanding the edits goes far deeper and being able to manipulate audio and all that. A lot of people they take what they see with a grain of salt, and it's pretty dangerous to believe that is a reality when clearly it's not.
Yeah. Like Carl this season too. Carl was the villain for our one episode. But he was honestly, like, looking back on it, because then the next episode, Thomas was the villain. So it's like he was probably talking about Thomas that whole time, which is still stupid. Like, they need to stop all telling Katie that so-and-so is not here for the right reasons. But he responded to one of my videos making fun of him, and he was so nice. He was like, oh, you're so talented. I know, like, what it takes, to put in all this time and whatever. And I was like, this guy's great. Like,
that's nice.
He had a bad hour on the show, whatever, and people were freaking out that he was so terrible. It's like, no, he just said some stupid stuff, and he's a nice guy. Like,
I wonder how long it would take for me to come off as the bad guy. Like, how many days in with like not too much sleep and like too much downtime, how many confessions before I'm kind of like, you know what? Yeah, whatever. I don't know, and it's hard for guys like Connor to come out of it universally loved. It's hard to see that. We had Kenny was always I think that, like, on paper last season, you wanted Kenny to be like the bad guy. You're like, oh, this guy is such a douche. He's like one of those guys that everyone has had nothing but nice things to say. So, right. But for the people that transcend those sound bites, it's good. But also maybe they just got lucky. Maybe the Bachelor felt like there was another egg they wanted to crack. You just don't know kind of what was kept in the show and what was fabricated. But I think baseline, it's important to watch it and be like, all right, we can get a little outraged at some things. Like Victoria Larson said some cutting things that was kind of hard, like, to even understand if the context was manipulated. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, let's see her on Bachelor in Paradise. Let's see if if it's the same edit again, it's like, all right, maybe you got another issue here. But also, I used to get really slammed for like my thoughts on Blake Horstman. I mean, he was on Bachelor in Paradise, like running to go to the bathroom, and they edited him to be like running away. It's like the guy had to pee. He was on a beach. He didn't want to pee his pants. So I
thought that was so stupid too. I thought he was fine.
Yeah.
He hooked up with someone at a concert, and she texted him to come over and hook up. Okay.
Oh man, I've made hours of this video where he then gets looked at as this crazy villain. And then he's like, I got to drop these text messages. Everyone thinks I'm me tooing somebody. I got to drop these text messages. You could see the pain, because that's another fellow people pleaser where he goes, I don't want to do this. And everyone slams him for doing it. He's like, this was the nuclear code. I had to show you guys. She was begging to come over after I told her not to. Imagine if that role was reversed. So I wanted him to go back on the show just for like a redemption, but I think he's, moved past it, and he's parlaying his DJ career. That's another career you can have after Bachelor. You can DJ like a Pauly D from Jersey Shore. Like, he can DJ. Like, if you can use your influence to bring your audience somewhere, comedy kind of works. There aren't really ever any comedians on the show, but I know Katie had mentioned she wanted to get into stand-up right as the pandemic was hitting. So you're kind of like, if you have an audience, you don't need to sell many tickets to kind of get your livelihood going. You don't need some crazy tour. You can literally have 5 fans in every city and make it work.
Wow.
So once you hit it big and stand up, you can, you'll be out there touring.
I might do you know Lace Larrabee? She's a local comedian in Atlanta, but she's pretty well known. She has a class. It was like the first all-female stand-up class. So I went to her show a few weeks ago, and we connected on Instagram, and she's like, you need to take my class.
I highly recommend it. Here's the thing. You'll get people that say, oh, stand-up shouldn't have classes. I took a class. If it gets you on stage for the first time and gets you some technique, and like these classes will teach you, like, take the mic out of the stand and put it behind you because the eye is drawn to the mic. And if your mic stand's standing there, it's a conflict. Those things are so valuable to know. If you can know that before you get on stage for the first time, you're just like, you're a step ahead of them people. And then musical theater. I mean, knowing the intonation of musicals, as cheesy as it sounds, the lyricism there could apply so much to how you present yourself on stage. You'd crush it. I suggest taking the class.
Thanks.
And then you do it for a year and don't tell anyone until you're like, all right, I like the act. And then people see it and they go, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And then, you got your James character. You're like there before your big opening night of your one-man Bachelor show and you're putting on your goatee and all that. But
there we go.
I wanted to ask you before I let you go about your wedding during COVID. Did you have to postpone it and find a new spot? And what was that whole process like trying to make it work during these kind of wild times?
It was crazy. It all worked out though in the end because I got to have 2 weddings. But originally we got engaged December 2019. I'm a planner and I was like, let's just get this planned fast. So we were planning to have our wedding June 2020. So just have like a short 6-month engagement. And we got literally everything booked, the venue, all the vendors. And then in April, once COVID was getting bad, we were like, okay, we should probably postpone. But everyone thought this would be over by the fall. Like everyone was like, oh, the summer heat will kill it, right?
Yeah.
So we thought that end of August was a safe bet. So we pushed it to end of August. Obviously, it still wasn't a safe bet. So like probably in June or July, once it was getting closer, but we were like, it's not safe. So we postponed it an entire year to June 2021. But the original plan was actually to always have 2 weddings. So Brian's Catholic, I'm not. So he wanted to have a Catholic wedding. I wanted to have the big outdoor at the venue. So we decided originally we would have the big wedding on a Friday. And then the next morning, we would have just immediate family come to this really small Catholic church and get like officially married in the church. So it was all going to be in one weekend. But what we ended up doing was keeping that small Catholic wedding and having that in August 2020. So we just had about 25 family members attend and then pushed the big celebration to June 2021. So it was definitely like kind of weird feeling to go into another wedding already being married for 10 months. But I was like, a lot of other people kind of did the same thing we did. And it is what it is. Like, I don't care if people thought that was weird, but it was great because we got to finally have all of our friends. Like we didn't have any friends at that first wedding. And I love my best friends so much. So it was great to have them there. Great to have my family from out of town safely travel in. Same with his. We both have really big families. So it was really, really nice to finally have the big thing with everyone there and have the vaccine, thank God, so that we could gather safely. So it all worked out and I got 2 dresses and 2 weddings out of it. So.
Now, yeah, I for one would never judge anyone who's gone through wedding planning this pandemic. It's just, we got engaged 2 months before you and we were kind of like, let's just not even talk about it for 6 months. Luckily, we both were kind of like, the stress, it was just like, let's wait. And also her sister had a wedding in the lineup. So we're like, we can't undercut that. That's next fall, we'll wait. But of course, that wedding turned into like they're doing it again for the second time. The first one was a small one. We've got another friend's wedding in Detroit next month. And I'm like, it's one of my best friends. And I'm like, I want to go back, but like we went to the first one. We're going to see all the same people. And I understand they had like money in a vendor they couldn't take out. So like they're doing what's right and everyone's just trying the best. So I totally get like, there's no way to know how to navigate these wild just issues. But like for us, we're like, I'm not going to spend $1 on a deposit anywhere until we know what we can do. But now it's like, we've waited so long. We're like, all right, well, we're going to have to figure this out soon, but we're getting there.
Good.
But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story. I do want to encourage everyone who watches and listens to my channel to give you a follow both on your YouTube and Instagram. Is there anything else you would like to promote other than your socials?
I don't think so. You can find, I post like everything on my Instagram, sometimes too much. I share too much information about my life, but I'm there. I'm open. Send me a DM. YouTube too. YouTube is Kelly Johns Official. That's me.
Well, I told this to Justin and I'll share it with you too. I'm pushing for a Bachelor Recappers palapa at the Bachelor in Paradise beach. I think that they
Absolutely.
should hire all of us to be like live commentary down there. Just so run that by your husband. I'll see if Tasha's on board. I know
I'm
Justin's
down.
going to be there with his he'll have his lays on and ready to party, but they need to value us. We're the,
Right.
like
We can bring so much value. And if not, if they don't hire us, we should still all come together and have our own Mexico vacation.
yeah, like I
Our
said,
own
maybe
paradise.
we'll be just offshore on a boat, and when someone gets sent home, they can kind of barge out to us, and we'll be that like fun party that's having more noise than the other party. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, if you ever have anything you want to promote or anything you need to say, come back on. We'd love to chat with you. But
Awesome.
otherwise, I appreciate you taking the time to tell me your story.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for connecting initially on Insta, and I'm glad we are batch friends now.
Batch friends for life. Thanks again.
That's right.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe, and if you want extra premium content, you can go to patreon.com/Dave Neal. I got my latest video, which offers some pretty random dating advice. If you feel like you're lost in this world and you need a partner for the end of the universe, have I got the video for you? So you can go check that out. Link in the description, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.